How did you find beach volleyball and what kind of drew you to it?
I originally started playing indoor volleyball when I was 11 years old and thought that that would be like my end game sport and I'd be playing that in college. But I ended up finding myself like losing the love for it and then not feeling like I was good enough. Like I was kind of like one of the worst on my like club teams, which is sad. But in the end, like with the whole COVID and everything, like obviously things were shut down. No one could play sports, but we were allowed to go outside. And I think I wanted to play some form of volleyball and ended up joining a beach volleyball club. And I just found a new love for the game. And it like was a lot more successful for me in the long run. And I just ended up deciding to quit indoor volleyball and then like pursue my options with beach volleyball.
That's awesome. What age were you when you made the switch over?
I was a sophomore in high school.
Why did you decide on ASU?
Yeah, so I think it was March of my junior year, and I was kind of getting ready to make that decision of where to commit. And what I really wanted was to stay in the West Coast because I love the West Coast. I grew up in California, and it's far from home, but it's also close enough. And I remember just being eager to make my college decision, and ASU was the last college I was going to visit. And then I ended up falling in love right when I got here. I loved the coaches, I loved the school, and I ended up like committing on my visit.
What kind of kept you going? Because I know you started in high school with beach volleyball your sophomore year, and now you're in your sophomore year of college. So it's kind of that motivation that kept you going and still want to pursue beach volleyball.
Mm-hmm. I think like just all the small successes, it's a long journey and it's a really hard road. But I think like what really like has stuck with me is the people I've like met along the way and like the best friends that I have from like years ago that I still like talk to every single day. And I think just like the small successes and like realizing like it's all worth it and just like pushing through all like the challenges and like I don't know, it's just been like a really fun journey and like something that I would never like trade for the world.
What are you studying at Arizona State?
I'm studying sports business.
What do you hope to do with that like in the future? What's your career goal?
What I really want to do is just like since I've grown up in sports is I always like have wanted to stick with it in my future. I want to do like either sideline reporting or work on like the management side of sports for like teams and contracts.
And how do you incorporate being an athlete into your everyday lifestyle?
I think like my biggest lesson is like to be easier on myself. It's a hard road. It's a long journey and it's a lot of time management, leadership skills, and it's hard to balance like college and like playing a sport at one of the highest levels and then still balancing like friendships outside of it, like relationships and like family and all that. So I think biggest thing that I've learned is to just like be easy on myself. It's not like always going to be easy. There's going to be days I want to give up. There's going to be days where it's really hard. So I think just kind of like sticking through and like being present in the moment has been very important for me. And like with being an athlete and taking that into my everyday life, like I learned so many time management skills, leadership skills, and like people skills, how to talk to people and help people like in the harder times.
What would you say the biggest difference is going from high school to college?
I think last year, especially my freshman year, was super hard for me because it was a huge change. You go from like in high school, you get to just like have fun all the time, I feel like, and it's just like very relaxed and like kind of you get to choose what you want to do. And then going to college is hard because it's like an everyday thing. And like here at ASU, we have to wake up at like 5 a.m. because it's so hot. So we have to work out early. So yeah, I think just like learning just like time management and like also like again being easy on myself because it was a hard jump really helped me.
Yeah, what do you do outside of volleyball?
Right now I have class every day from about 3 to 5, and then what I find that I love is like going on walks during like sunset. So I'll go with some of my teammates and it's kind of like just our time to talk about the day, or we'll go get candy from the market or something, or go to dinner. And it's just like, those are the times where it's really nice to just like decompress and like talk about our days.
How do you prepare for each game?
I definitely do like listen to music the night before. Like, I love that. Kind of gets me hyped up or calm. And then before the game, if my mom's not there, I'll always give her a call, and she's pretty good at calming me down. And I'll either talk to one of my teammates or my partner for that game, and we'll kind of just calm each other down and just tell each other like we've got it and that things will all be good.
How is your relationship with your mom and your parents or siblings or whoever's in your immediate family?
It's super good. My family and I have always been really close. Like, growing up, like, all of us have played sports, so we're always at each other's games, supporting each other. And I think my parents always did an amazing job at showing up and always being there for all of us. Even if they weren't, it still felt like they were always there.
How important is your mental state compared to your physical state for games?
I'd say that's like the most important thing to me. Last year, my freshman year, was obviously a big learning lesson as a whole, and I struggled a lot with my mental game because I didn't really truly realize how much more important it is than the physical game, because your mind can take you a lot farther than your body can. And I think I would find myself in games like having just a negative mindset, and I didn't know how to handle that. And then I ended up one day asking one of my coaches, like, how do I get out of my head? Like, I don't really know what's going on. And something that's super important to me that I've learned this year is like talking about it helps so much. So I've been seeing like a sports psychologist, and she'll just give, a lot of the girls on my team also see her, and she just gives like all the tools you need to like calm yourself down in a match or anything, to just like kind of take yourself away from the game, although you're still in it. But like realizing like a small mistake isn't the end of the world. Like, it's going to happen.
How do you handle like wins and losses after each game?
I'm definitely not a big fan of losing. Just growing up in like a very competitive family, and obviously like I want to win for my team. That's super important to me, and I work like so hard to win. When I deal with a loss, what I like to do is kind of just be alone for a second and then kind of decompress and like calm myself down and like come back to reality in a sense, and realize like in the long run, it's just not that important. Like, this is not going to matter in a week from now. And just like kind of stepping away from anybody and just really like calming myself down, and then kind of taking that more as motivation for the next game.
You've talked a lot about your teammates and how close you are. How has that relationship just grown?
Definitely, I would say like all of them are like the sisters that I always wanted. And last year, freshman year in the dorms, I lived with 3 of my teammates. It was all of our freshman years. And then this year, I live with another one of my teammates. I'd say my best friend on the team. I also lived with her last year. And I'd say just like what really got us so close was last year we had like such an incredible season. We broke so many records, did so many things for the first time, and that brought us all so much closer. And we also went through so much as a team that at the end of the day, like, that brought us immensely closer. And obviously, like, all the travel trips, like traveling around the country with them, all the team dinners, the hotels, just brought us like so much closer.
What records were broken last year?
Last year, for the first time, we got ranked in the nation. We started out ranked number 10 in the nation, and our team had never been ranked before, which was incredible. I think our opening weekend, so our first tournament of the season, we broke 3 different records. We beat 3 ranked teams and started out 4-0, which had never been done before. And then we beat the number 2 team in the nation, Stanford. We hosted them here and we beat them, and it was just like probably one of my favorite memories. It was like a night game. It was rained out. It was really late, and just like winning that with like all of us was just like the best memory. And then we got to watch this selection show for the NCAA volleyball championships, and hearing our name called for the first time in like our school history was just like the best thing ever. And then we got to go to the championships, and it was just like probably the coolest experience of my life.
What has it been your like peak performance that you personally, like individually, have done in your sport?
So I'd say like the beginning of my season started out kind of rocky. I was kind of like a nervous wreck, just a little baby freshman, and didn't really know like how to handle myself in the moments of loss or a win, anything. And I kind of would psych myself out a lot. And I think The moment that my mindset shifted was during a game. We were playing U of A, so it was a big rivalry game. There was a ton of people there, and I had lost to them like twice before, so I was like 0-2 with them. And I was just trying to get my mindset right. I had learned a lot about myself in the beginning of the season, and I think in that moment, I really shifted my mindset and wanted to do it for my team rather than for myself. And like, I think that was like one of my best games, and we ended up winning.
What does that energy feel like from the fan base, and how does that help you perform or not help you perform?
Mm. So I'll give like two examples. So when we went to U of A and played, it was obviously very different energy because that was their fan base and crowd. So that was hard to handle. Obviously everyone's cheering against you. You get in your head. It doesn't help. But I'd say like when we were hosting them and they played here, it was just like an immense amount of support was felt. And it was so much fun having like all of our other athlete friends come out and support and just be like the loudest cheers there. And I had my family there, and it was just like a complete shift in the energy.
What would you say to your younger self if she was sitting in front of you? Like, what advice would you give her knowing where you are now?
I would say just be patient. Like everything's going to work out, because if I could go back and tell her that, like, I wish I could, because I used to stress myself out so much, even just when I was like a freshman or sophomore in high school, like worrying so much about not being the best friend on my team, or stressing so much about like, oh, this person's getting a college offer from here and I'm not. And like, kind of just telling her that like my time is coming and I just need to be patient, because I would just always freak myself out so much about that.
Yeah. Is there a person like in your story, or do you have an inspiration, either a family member, it could be a famous person, someone who's helped you kind of grow who you are today that you look up to?
Mhm. I would say it's like one of my best friends back home. Her name's Haughy. She was my first ever beach volleyball partner, and she pretty much got me to where I am today. I couldn't have done it without her. She goes to school at USC now, just a student. And I'd say throughout my whole recruiting process, throughout my whole career, she's just been like my biggest fan. And I've never felt like support from another person like her. I think beach volleyball is harder just because you're in the sand. It's two people. But for me, I was just so much happier on the beach, like playing beach volleyball. And that like meant the world to me. And that like, though it was physically harder, I was having so much more fun. And I ended up like, I was like ready to play my indoor year, like for my 17s year. I was committed to a club team, and then I called my coach one random night and I said, like, I won't be joining the team this year. Like, I'm quitting.
How has your coaches been throughout your years, and how is your coach at Arizona State now?
I would say all the coaches I've had have changed my life or impacted them in so many ways, because I think that they shape you as players, but more importantly, like as a person. And I would say like my club beach volleyball coaches are some of my favorite people on this earth. I go back in the summers and I coach for them, for the younger girls. And it's just so much fun to like see them. And like, I definitely would not be where I am without them. And my coaches at ASU, like, I just adore them. They're the best. And like, they make such a welcoming environment, and they just make it so fun.
How do you take the values that you've learned all over the years into those girls?
I honestly love it. It's so nice to go home and I feel like I'm kind of giving back to the club that gave me so much. And I'd say like I love bringing the wisdom I learned in college and the skills I learned at college and kind of giving it to those girls. And also like the skills I learned over the years, and just kind of giving it to them, and also teaching them that like your attitude can go a lot farther than like your skills.
Okay, my last question for you is, how do you want to be remembered?
I just want to be remembered as someone like anybody can talk to and like feel comfortable around. That's really like big to me, is kind of like, I don't know, helping people out with their problems. Like, I never want my friends to feel like they can't come to me for anything. And I want to be remembered just as like the happy person that you could go to if you're having a bad day, someone that will cheer you up and make you laugh, like no matter what mood you're in.
Yeah.